Joining us right now here in studio is Democratic Congressman Eric Swalwell of California, who sits on the House Judiciary Committee. Thank you so much for being here.
Of course. Good morning.
The president, let's talk first. One element of this that I find fascinating is that the president, amongst a lot of what he has pushed the Justice Department to do, has pushed Pam Bondi, at least openly, and suggested it, to open a criminal investigation into many critics, including Adam Schiff, who sits on the Senate Judiciary Committee. If you're Adam Schiff, what are you going to ask today?
Will you recuse yourself from making any decisions about a case involving me or anyone else that the president has identified as an enemy? And by the way, Kash Patel, he wrote a book. He wrote out 60 people who he called government gangsters. He put me and Adam Schiff at the very top. I asked Kash Patel a couple weeks ago, will you recuse yourself from investigating those individuals because you clearly had it out for these people before you came into government? He said no. But the real question, Kate, is it's not about Adam Schiff. It's not about me or the people you ticked off at the top there, James Comey, Tish James, John Bolton. Most Americans want to know, like, what are you doing to protect us from terrorism, us from public corruption, us from child sex trafficking? If the FBI and the Department of Justice are so focused on going after the president's enemies, are we sacrificing our ability to protect ourselves on the homeland?
How do you get to those answers? Let's be honest. I mean, if you look at, take the Kash Patel hearing. I'm just thinking about the moments you had with him. I mean, that was quite a back and forth between you and Kash Patel. What you're talking about was actually Pam Bondi and the Jeffrey Epstein files. But how are you going to get to serious questions like that when what often happens is pure theatrics and histrionics?
Well, it's math, right? How many agents now are working on immigration cases rather than terrorism, public corruption, child sex trafficking? I mean, you can ask them those questions. They don't want to answer those questions. Or how much institutional knowledge has been lost because they're going after people who worked on the president's search warrants. There were 5 mass shootings 2 weekends ago within 24 hours. People want to know, are they protected in their community, or is the Department of Justice just protecting Donald Trump from his perceived political enemies?
I mentioned the Jeffrey Epstein, and a big question remains of what the Justice Department is doing, or actually what they really aren't doing and why. During that hearing with Kash Patel, you got into a serious back. What was it? 9 times you asked if he had told the Attorney General that Trump's name was in the file. Actually, I think we're just now. Let me take a look at. Show me the hearing, guys. The ranking Democrat on the committee hearing and on the committee is now speaking. Let's listen to Dick Durbin just a little bit, Congressman.
Just one example of how President Trump and Attorney General Bondi shut down justice at the Department of Justice even before the president's party, controlling the White House, Senate, and House of Representatives, shut down the government. The Attorney General has systematically weaponized our nation's leading law enforcement agency to protect President Trump and his allies and attack his opponents and, sadly, the American people. You have purged hundreds of senior career officials since you first appeared before us. These men and women had dedicated their careers to protecting the American people. As a result, the department has lost literally thousands of years of law enforcement expertise. To be specific, you disbanded the FBI's Foreign Influence Task Force and the National Cryptocurrency Enforcement Team, despite the growing threat of foreign election interference and the drastic rise in cryptocurrency crimes. You forced out almost 75% of the Civil Rights Division's career attorneys, while hate crimes are on the rise. You fired more than 100 immigration judges, while the immigration case backlog is more than 3 million. You cut the public integrity section from 30 prosecutors to 2, while political corruption skyrockets. During your confirmation hearing, I asked you about your many potential conflicts of interest as a former lobbyist. You responded under oath, quote, "You will consult with career ethics officials within the department and make the appropriate decision," end of quote. But the Justice Department then removed those career ethics officials and put in their place inexperienced political appointees beholden to President and you. and you've effectively shut down the Office of
All right,
Professional
so Dick Durbin,
Responsibility.
they're beginning to list out all of the things that Democrats for sure are going to be asking the Attorney General about during this hearing. Back to what I wanted to ask you, though, about Jeffrey Epstein, which is on that list, I am sure. The newly elected Democratic Congresswoman Adelita Grijalva was on the show just yesterday, Congressman. You saw that. And she thinks that there is a connection between the fact that there has been an unusual delay in her getting actually sworn in by the House Speaker and the Jeffrey Epstein files. Let me play just to remind people what she said.
I am hearing that. And I am going to be the 218th signer to the discharge petition. So that is the only thing that most people are pointing to. Speaker Johnson has closed down votes in the recent past to avoid a vote on the Epstein files. So there does seem to be a connection.
She would be the 218th vote.
They're not convincing me that there's not something there that hurts the president. I've been in Congress for 13 years. I've never seen us out for almost a month during a non-August recess time.
Right.
We're in October. We have a government shutdown where lawmakers should be in Washington negotiating, and we were sent home indefinitely. You can only conclude that they don't want to vote where you know that you're going to have 350, probably 400 members of Congress who will vote for it. So he's just protecting those members from having to take that vote. But what are in the files that are worth keeping the government shut down, preventing negotiations? You would just conclude they're protecting Donald Trump. There's no other logical explanation.
Well, I have to, on the government shutdown, I just had Matt Egan on, he's our business reporter, and he's been talking to contract workers who they may not get back pay because they're contract workers. And what the people he's talking to said is, stop this, stop messing with people. We have families. I don't know how I'm going to feed my kids or pay my mortgage, as this woman was fighting back tears and talking to Matt Egan. I say, but I'll pose the question this way. How do you explain to constituents like that?
Yeah.
She lives in Maryland, though, but regardless, how do you explain to them that while holding out for health care subsidies, which they may want and may agree with, why that is worth it if they expire at the end of the year, but right now the government's shut down and this woman might not be able to pay her bills? How do you defend it?
Well, first I'd say Republicans own the White House, the Senate, and the House. They don't need a single Democratic vote.
They do in the Senate. That's how this goes.
They could break the filibuster. It takes 50 votes to break the filibuster. They should break the filibuster, and they should own this budget that takes away people's health care. Democrats aren't asking for any new policy. We're saying that the subsidies that have always been in place as we go into open enrollment, which starts on November 1, so that's just 24 days away, people should know that their health care is going to be affordable. But if the Republicans don't want to work with us on that, they have the votes. They can break the filibuster and open their government. We just don't want to co-sign on a government that takes health care away from people.
It has been, I've seen a lot of government shutdowns. There has not been one where it seems that the outcome seems very grim and there is no end in sight like this one in a long time.